Welcome to Saturday Stitches with Frankenstein's Fabrics. So, we're finally at the very end of our test sandwich. We have done almost the full 16 blocks. We're on our very last one here. And this one I decided to show you something a little bit different. So it's still a filler stitch and you can use it anywhere you would like. However, my personal preference for this one is to use it in sashing. So this is why I've chalked up a couple of lines here. This is what I like to call a viennetta. So it's a loop stitch, but it kind of looks like, if you've ever seen the viennetta desserts in the supermarket, it's got that ripple effect, like how they've piped on the chocolate and the cream on top of this dessert. So I call it the viennetta, so if you have a different name for it, that's fine. It's just, I think it's pretty funny. So what I'd like to do with this one is I start in the top corner and I do a half run and then go into the full swing. Now usually I put this in small sashings or narrow sections and things like that. You can turn corners with it, but if you do decide to do that, sometimes it's best just to chalk up and mark a center point so you know where you've got to hit with the top of the curve. So I'll just show you this first run. So as you can see, I do move a bit more slowly with this one, and that's purely because I'm working back and forth and I want to control where I'm going at these certain points where they just meet. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with eyeballing this design, you can mark even spaces across your seam edge, so alternating on the other side. So what you can do is, it would look like you would have a mark and there'd be a mark here and then there'd be one here. And so what you're doing is you're giving yourself a hit point. So this is where you start, you're stitching and you hit, stitching and you hit, stitching and you hit. And if that's more visually helpful for you, by all means chalk it up. So I'm kind of used to this one now, so eyeballing is not such a problem. But this gives you an option for marking so that you can get the stitch in a better position. Now the thing with turning a corner, so what I'll do is I'll show you here. What you want to do is you find your center part of the corner here and your center part here. You want to be able to almost create, as you come around, to create a full one finishing here and then sort of tucking one in and then creating the bigger loop around. So you're tucking a smaller one in and then coming back around. So it's a little tricky and it does take a bit of practice to get used to turning corners with designs, but if you wanted to mark that up and just work out where you want it to go, chalk is a brilliant thing. These are the Bowen chalk pens. They've got an eraser on the end and you can change the chalk cartridge. I use these all the time in my quilts, and the chalk washes out, so it's brilliant. It also dusts off, so you can actually quite take some of it off. So what we'll do is I'll just draw these lines back in for you and I'll show you how you do this one. So I tend to work left to right. So I'm going to come down to this point here. So what I'll do is I'll just work across. can see, by chalking that up, it's quite easy to follow. If you're not comfortable with that much chalk, you can do less lines, whatever you prefer. Now, this space that's in here, if you wanted to fill a shape with this design, there's a couple of options, and it actually ends up more elongated, so that's personal preference, but you can stretch this design out, or if you leave it as it is, you can fill a space. So what I might do, okay, so we have our diamond. So I'm just going to edge this off. So I want to give myself a framework to stitch in. Now, as I said before, I like to work left to right. It just feels more natural to me with quilting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch here, and I'm just going to go slowly and create the stitch. Now this would be like micro work. And as I get to the bigger section, I can move a little faster because I'm more comfortable with the open space. And as you can see, there's a suggestion of that loop. Because I've got to work my way back in and back out. Sometimes it'll look straighter than others, and sometimes you'll bend a little bit as you get used to this shape. And then as you get to the end, you just micro it again. And there we have it. So, start in whatever direction is comfortable for you, micro, expand, and then contract back to the other point. So, that is our final stitch for our stitch sample. So there we have our 16 test stitch blocks from our Saturday Stitches run. So I'm going to take a break for the next week, and I will be back in a little while with some more designs, and we will continue on with our Saturday Stitches. Have a quick break, enjoy your time off, and then come back with fresh set of eyes. Please hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Saturday Stitches in the coming weeks. Bye for now.